Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking what's honestly a fascinating paradox in New Hampshire's public education system. We're talking about schools that are entirely public, yet operate entirely independently. If you're currently comparing educational options, or if you've just ever wondered exactly how charter schools fit into the state's educational puzzle, you are in exactly the right place. Let's dive in. Here is our roadmap for This Explainer. First, the New Hampshire education landscape. Second, what is a charter school? Third, why families choose charters. Fourth, realities and accountability. And finally, essential questions for parents. Section 1. The New Hampshire education landscape. Finding the middle ground. Section 2. What is a charter school? Defining the concept. So, before we even start evaluating if these specialized schools are the right fit, we've got to establish what they actually are at their core. It's the absolute foundational question for parents, right? We hear the word charter thrown around constantly in community discussions, but what exactly does it mean? Well, think of a charter as essentially a performance contract. It's a very explicit agreement with a state authorizing body. In this agreement, a public school promises to meet highly specific academic, financial, and operational goals. In return for that promise, they get incredible operational flexibility. But here is the absolutely crucial mechanism. If the school doesn't meet those rigorous expectations, that charter can be revised, it can be non-renewed, or it can be outright revoked. They're essentially trading standard bureaucratic rules for strict, results-based accountability. Now, understanding this clears up a really common misconception. Unlike private schools, which charge tuition and possess the authority to select their incoming students based on academics or other distinct criteria, charter schools are absolutely tuition-free and they are open to all students. They literally cannot cherry-pick their enrollments. Despite their independence, they are entirely public schools. Section 3. Why families choose charters. The appeal of flexibility. So how do you actually find that perfect educational fit without completely breaking the bank? For a lot of households looking for an option outside their assigned district, the decision usually boils down to balancing two vital factors: educational fit and affordability. Parents desperately want an environment where their child thrives, but private alternatives can be completely cost prohibitive. Because charters offer tuition-free option, they totally remove that financial barrier. This allows families to focus entirely on how well the school's unique approach matches their students' needs. And that operational flexibility we just talked about, it translates into real, tangible classroom experiences. Because they aren't bound by traditional district structures, charters can build their entire culture around specific educational models. We're talking heavy project-based learning, deep arts integration, rigorous STEM curriculums, or even classical education. Or, they might just be designed to offer a smaller, much more personalized setting for students who would really benefit from a tight-knit community rather than a massive campus. Bringing it all together, the core appeal is super clear. Families get a tuition-free public option with open enrollment combined with smaller environments and highly distinct teaching philosophies. Ultimately, parents are just seeking an accessible community that better matches their child's very specific learning style, their schedule, or their academic interests. Section 4. Realities and accountability. The trade-offs. Because charter schools really exist in this dynamic balancing act. On one hand, they enjoy incredible autonomy in their daily instruction, their overall programming, and their school culture. But in exchange, they face massive public responsibility. They are absolutely required to meet strict state and federal standards. That means rigorous academic reporting, tight financial governance, and totally non-negotiable compliance with civil rights and special education laws. And it's important to note that this balance fuels an ongoing policy discussion right now in New Hampshire. On one side, supporters highly value the innovation these schools bring to the education sector. They argue that charters can pioneer new methods while still meeting clear standards. Conversely, critics argue for even stronger oversight, particularly as these schools expand their footprints or take on students with highly complex needs. Both of these perspectives are a vital part of the state's broader conversation on maintaining public trust. But for your family, this broader debate translates into very practical, everyday hurdles. You've got to think deeply about things like transportation, because charters might not offer the traditional bus services you're used to. You also need to weigh the specific location, the exact grade levels served, how they support students with disabilities, their approach to disciplinary handling, and importantly, the financial stability and consistent enrollment of the school itself. Remember, they rely on strong governance to keep their doors open. Section 5. Essential questions for parents. The parent checklist. Okay, So the absolute first major question you need to ask a prospective school, how does the admissions process work? Specifically, how does the lottery work if applications exceed seats? Because these schools are public and open to everyone, but are heavily limited by their physical space, a lottery is very often required. You need to understand your child's actual chances and the exact step-by-step mechanics of that enrollment process. Next up on the checklist, what are the specific transportation options? Since we know transportation is a uniquely difficult hurdle in New Hampshire for charter students, you must establish exactly how your child will get to campus every single day. You literally cannot assume there's going to be a yellow bus waiting at the end of your driveway. It's a logistical question you've got to ask up front. Another incredibly vital question you have to ask is, how does the school support students who need extra help? You really need to look right past the glossy marketing materials and the mission statements here. Ask direct, pointed questions about their special education services, how they measure and track daily academic progress, their disciplinary methods, and what level of regular communication you can actually expect as a parent. Make absolutely sure their support structures align with what your student needs to succeed. As we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with a final thought. Charter schools offer a highly specialized, tuition-free path, but they absolutely require a proactive family to navigate the logistical hurdles. So, ask yourself, is the trade-off of less convenience really worth the promise of a custom-fit education for your child? Thank you so much for exploring this fascinating topic with me, and I'll see you in the next explainer.